that if the incumbent president frustrates all democratic means to leave power, temusibayo muntu n'omukutwiza. This is why Besigye is released. Museveni ekibi alina tayina mawulire. Nawandika n'ekitabo kyange, the role of which could have in a malicious society. Sapule njijjamu.
Noyingire sabo.
Katonda wa bujja. Nze Katonda w'obujja. Bw'oba olaga eri, sapule togitwala. Omusajja omubbi bamujja ewuwe ewaka kabanga lyezi. Ne bamujja ewuwe ewaka yabadde mu ttooyi. Naye tebaamukiriza na tusanitize. Bamutadde butese mu piikavu ba mu State House. Naye omukyayina bwe yawulidde nti ono bamukutte yeesize kiwi yayitiddeko yadduse ng'omuddugavu.
Hey guys, you're watching STV. Select for fun.
Uganda, good morning, Mother Africa, and hello to the entire world. Good morning, welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you that have just woken up with us, and you are doing a great job. For those of you that are just streaming live on Facebook, you just know that you are the best audience we have ever had. Well, what you can do right about now is leave us with a comment on whatever we shall be discussing, and probably what you feel about the show, because we are not doing this for ourselves. We are doing it for you who is watching. My name is Simon Chris Makanga, and it's a big pleasure to welcome each and every one that has tried to wake up with us. We know that it's our job and it's our mandate to inform the general public on different stories that make rounds of headlines every single day. Yesterday was quite heavy one in the political environment. Kalulu kakute wansine wagulu, and today we expect to be hotter than yesterday. However, I'm not doing this show alone either. I'm always with...
A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Salamu kwenu, naitwa Latifah Hamid. Na nataka kukaribisha kwenye show yetu inaitwa Fast Show. Tumekuwepo jana na leo na tutaendelea hivyo mpaka Wednesday tutakuwa na nyinyi. Na tunakuwa tunaongelea mengi sana kwenye show yetu ya Fast Show, kutokea habari za mchezo na pia tunaongelea habari za pesa. Yani lini pesa gani imeongezeka na nani ambayo yuko Uganda mtajiri kupita mwingine. Karibuni sana. Na nyinyi ambayo mnatuangalia kwenye platform zetu za Facebook, Instagram na Twitter, tunasema asanteni sana kwa ajili data yako inakuuma sana, na understand kwa ajili mimi nikiwa kwa Facebook all the time na stream live data yangu inaniuma, lakini umekuja ukasema hata kama data yangu inaniuma nitakuwa naangalia Simon Chris na Latifah kwenye First Show. Tunakushukuru sana. Today we'll be discussing a number of issues ranging from the different lives that have been lost this week to COVID-19 to motor accidents, and also the celebrity of Black Panther that died. May their soul rest in peace. As we dive into the political season, who is moving from what political party to the other, and who is saying that this person is not ready to be the president of the Republic of Uganda? All that and more comes in on the first show. Good morning, Simon Chris Makanga.
Good morning, Latifah.
How are you doing today?
Not bad. It's a bit cold outside.
Oh, it is.
And,
last night was pretty cold.
Yeah.
And for you who is married, I'm glad that you are, because I'm sure you got the warmth that you intended
I don't know
to
where
get
that is
last night.
coming from.
Oh, Simon Chris.
I don't know where it's coming from with the intentions behind
Simon
it. However,
Chris,
the night was
I want
okay,
to
and
ask
I'm
a
not complaining.
question. May
Everything
I
is
ask
moving
you?
on so well.
Seems like you don't want to answer my question.
Well, our job is to come here and inform the general public on
Okay.
stories that made
I'll
rounds
let
of
you-
headlines.
I'll
Meanwhile,
let you go on
let me
that.
hope you're also okay. You enjoyed last night.
Well, I'm okay.
Amid is the cold.
I'm okay. One thing I'd like to advise the viewers out there is that when it's cold, it leads to flu. And when you have flu, that means your immune system is down and coronavirus can hit you anytime. So keep yourself warm as you're washing your hands and putting on your masks, and make sure that there's social distancing just like there is between me and Simon Chris Makanga. Of course, I don't trust whether he's a negative from COVID-19.
No, I think it's high time you trusted that, because otherwise you wouldn't be on set with me.
No, I do.
Though, however, I used to feel the same way.
Yes,
in the
about
beginning,
me, you mean.
about yourself. But now I do believe in
No,
trust.
just-
That I try to follow you, and I got to realize that after work, you go home, from home to work. You only get lost over the weekend. So Mondays I usually lose the trust. But today,
so you've been spying and moving around and following
not with
me.
any other intention, but not to find out if you're truly fine with COVID-19. Meanwhile, I hope everything is okay.
No, everything is okay, and we're really just joking, because once you come into the STV premises, we have a temperature gun that checks whether you're positive or negative, how high your temperature is, and then we have a hand washing facility downstairs as you're moving up onto the stairs, and we also have a sanitizer once you get to the registration desk, and that's what every company in Uganda ought to do if you do not want to be charged 240,500 Ugandan shillings for checking COVID-19.
Ooh, quite some huge money. I don't know how many Ugandans can afford that. But the truth is, 245,000 Ugandan shillings. Roughly, how much dollars are those?
Well,
because initially we're told that a testing kit costs about $65 US. So we need to do some math and find out how much dollars are equivalent to 245 Ugandan shillings. That's a lot of money. It's an equivalent to somebody's salary, by the way. So if that is what the Minister of Health has stipulated, that we need to take that as a testing fee for all those that want to be tested, or those that want to know their status. Meanwhile, let's first have a look at what exactly we are talking about, and then we'll be right back. Can't these people be...
Eriatu lyavudde omulundi gumu erikubaawo nemufulumiramu omwana omu ebyaddiriddawo ne tutaasataasaako awo
jo twafunye akabenje wano mu Jjinja ku mazzi gaffe wano gemumanyi ag'oku Nairo, nga wabaddewo omukulu omu amanyiddwa nga Hassan Lweru Hassan, nga ye director oba proprietor wa East African University, yabadde nga atambulako ku lyato ku mazzi gaffe gano ne famire ye. Ndowooza eryato lifuna obuzibu ne lyevunika, naye twasobodde okubabaddemu abantu 5 mu lyato lino, naye twasobodde okulunulako abantu 3. Omukyala n'omwana omu bo tebalutonze,
Tinga fosi y'amazzi teyabadde nnyingi eryato teryandize. Lyandisigadde. Zonna gundi babadde basumuludde. Yabadde weekend ng'amazzi bagasumuludde. Saa zinene amazzi tegali kudduka, ganene amazzi matono.
Ekiwatuka buu. Atulowooza babagaddewo. Anti we baggalawo bemanyi owoogana abo. Naye twagenzewo ebipapajjo, ntebe, ebikizi, life jacket. Abagaguddemu bagaguddemu abamanyi owoogana ne batasa ku maali. Jo naye leero tetunakuddamu biwulirako. Tetunalabako bano balawuna ku mazzi. Ate nga waliwo omwana gwe baggyeyo wali. Basudde omugwa.
Bibino ebimu ku ebyo ebyasigaddewo.
Bino byonna nga badde ku booti twabiggyeyo nga tubuga buwuzi bino.
Ebisinga obungi.
Life jacket twanunudde ebbiri naye wali twalebaggyeyo omuntu omu nga yambadde life jacket.
Funa obuzibu ne lyevunika. Naye twasobodde babaddemu abantu 5 mu lyato lino naye twasobodde okununulako abantu 3. Omukyala n'omwana omu bo tebalutonze era n'omwami eyazze okulaba nti ayambako okutaasa abantu bano naye tanaba kukubirwako kimunye. Tetumanyi oba naye kati saawa zino mugenzi oba tanaba. Poliisi egenda maaso ekola ku mazzi okulaba nga enoonyereza etuwe amawulire amatuufu. Saawa zino Hassan ali mu ddwaliro. Hassan ne banne abalala 2 bali mu ddwaliro wano ku Jinja International Hospital bafuna obujjanjabi era tubasabira babeere bulungi.
Bafunyako 3 n'abatanaakulabika. Life jacket kuzitaasataasako awo nga ziri kukirira n'ebyasigalidde awo ebitundutundu by'eryato ebimu.
That story is actually about the death of Super Shakira, the wife of Hassan Ali, the proprietor of International University of East Africa, also known as the playing ground of children, Didi's World. Now, this accident happened a few days ago when they were on a boat cruise with the family, 2 kids, Amira Alwi and Jafalu Alwi, also on the boat. Now, their boat got an engine failure and they went into the split waters of Chira Dam and they lost their lives. May their souls rest in eternal peace. Now, as we were speaking about the COVID-19 deaths in the country, we also said that we would be coming back to speak about the death of Jafari Alwi and his family, who got an accident on the Nile, and we'll also be talking about Bosman in the number of deaths that the country has had and those that we hope will rest in peace, and may their families find peace during this novel COVID-19 pandemic situation. Now, Simon Cruz, when we look at what happened to the Alwi family, and just to set the record straight for a lot of people out there, is that this family belongs to Jafar Alwi Senior, not Hassan Alwi Senior, not Junior, because the Junior is a rally driver, and a lot of people are confusing the two. They think it is the Junior family that died, because what happened, the Junior family, the son is married to an Arab woman, almost Indian, Caucasian Arab woman, and this particular woman is Randin Western blood woman, the one that you were seeing on screen right now, that passed away with her beautiful daughter Amira Alwi. Now, when the accident happened, the UPDF Marine managed to save Alwi, who has a head injury and is receiving treatment in Jinja. They managed to save one other person who tried to save them. Now, when the accident happened, there's a sole boat, one person who joined them and followed them to try and save them, but he also failed to control his boat and fell into an accident. But that one was saved, and Jafalu Alwi, the other kid who was 12 years old, was saved from the accident.
Well, it's so sad that it's about this time that the country is losing people and the whole world is losing prominent people. It's really so sad. However, when you try to look at what could have caused, according to the officials in the hydro dam in Jinja, they say that they might have released water that might have triggered to the collapse of the boat. And I think we had it from one of the spokesperson from ESCOM, a company that is responsible for that water.
Yeah.
And they said that lady called Thozama Gandhi, she said that it is the responsibility of the police marine to find out whether there are people on that lake
exactly before they open
before they release the water. So I think there was that miscommunication or misengagement between the police marine and the ESCOM team, so that could have triggered to the collapse of that boat. However, we do sympathize with the families that lost their dear ones, and we grant their souls to rest in peace.
Well, that story brings us to the level of poor communication that we have in the country. Just like you said, it should have been communicated to people who are planning to go on the water on a certain day, then the dam waters are going to be opened. So there will be a very huge force on the water body and nobody should go on. We also have reports that there were tourists yesterday who were also on the same river. Thanks God they had
life jackets.
They had life jackets, so only 2 of them lost their lives and the rest were saved. Now, when we see that these things are happening within a few days of each other, we can only say that there has to be something that needs to be done about this issue. They're alleging the failure or the death of Super Shakira to an engine failure on the boat. But then what will they say about the second tourist boat that was on the water? So we can only try and say on this day and on this day, people should not go on the water because the dam is going to be opened. Sam and Chris, we have seen the Chira Dam. We have seen how much water spills out of the dam when it's opened. We've seen the force that comes with
really
it.
Huge.
The same thing happened with Karuma. You see the kind of force that Karuma opens up when the dam was put on Karuma. There's so much force that no matter the size of the boat, you cannot survive on the water with that kind of force. So all we can do right now is wish them, the family, peace, and we hope their souls rest in eternal peace. Hassan Alwi, we hope that you recover well and come back because we appreciate your proprietorship of the university and bringing it closer to the people of Kansanga, and we hope you get better soon.
Well, away from that, we want to welcome those that have just joined us live on Facebook and those that have just joined us live in your sitting rooms, all your office. You are doing a great job. Well, we are now into our next headline, the story that made rounds of headlines yesterday. Yesterday was quite tricky for so many people who follow current affairs. We saw that one big journalist, I want to call him one of the people that have been following closely when it comes to analyzing events in this country. That is Basaja Kambwe. He crossed from one party, that is NUP, to NRM. It came as a surprise that yes, after all the critics he has been pushing towards the NRM party, yasazeewo n'agamba nti kati yalabye ekitangala kwe kusalawo n'agamba nti kati ka joining NRM party alaba okubanga apushing ensonga ze. Tujja kujjukirako nti emabega kaawo ya joininga ekibiina kya NUP ekikulembera omwami Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu era nga n'asuubiza nti agenda kubanga akitwala mu maaso. However, kyabakubye enchukwe olunaku olw'eggulo okulaba nti yasazeewo n'asala eddiiro mu press conference eyabadde etegekeddwa Ssaabavulu Balamu. Katulabe ebisingako then tugenda komawo twongerezeeko.
Who told you this?
Abalamuzi babagamba nti if the incumbent president frustrates all democratic means to leave power, temusibayo muntu n'omu kutwiza. This is why Besigye is released. Museveni ekibi kyalina talina mawulire. Nawandika n'ekitabo kyange the role of which could have been a malicious society sapule njijjamu
noyingire sabo
katonda wa bujja nze katonda w'obujja bw'oba olaga eri sapule togitwala omusajja omubbi bamujja ewuwe ewaka kabanga lyezi ne bamujja ewuwe ewaka yabadde mu ttooyi naye tebamukiriza natusanatayizi bamutadde buteesi mu piikaavu ba mu state house naye omukyayina bwe yawulidde nti ono bamukutte yeesize kiwi yayitiddeko yadduse ng'omuddugavu.
Bampita Dr. Franklin Mondo Mugisha wano ku STV biri ku makyakera nange nga twogera ku nsonga ez'enjawulo engeri tusooka ezimba mu ggwanga lyaffe engeri tusooka okuzimba gye tubeera gye tuva wategedde obwavu lwa kibuluma mikwano gy'abaavu baani otambula otya osula otya okusalawo okwo okw'obulamu kutandikira ku nfunayo emikwano gy'abagagga n'abaavu tusobola ogitegeera no ku STV tugenda kwogera ku nsonga z'abaslay queen tutambula tutya kukyusa omulembe gw'abawala baffe kubanga bafuuka babuvunaanyizibwa era nga bakozi nga banoonyi ba kikumi tugenda kwogera ku bakanyama bazimba batya emibiri ye omubiri bwe gulimu ssente oba bwe bulamu bwe twetaaga omukazi tasobola kuleka musajja w'emmotoka mukaaga mbwakute akwate 6 pack amufune mbubatambule naye wano ku STV Big Network. See ya.
We're having a problem with Bob Wine. But his people, why do they insult us? Why do they speak lies against us and he keeps quiet? That's where my problem with him is. They said we are his people. I'm Bob Wine's spokesperson, Lumbuye, Peng, whoever. Why do you keep quiet? Why don't you have a press conference like this one and you say, those people, we don't know them, or we know them, but the line they are trading, please, we disassociate ourselves with whatever words they speak. They are keeping quiet. So, I'm determined to crush that kingdom. A kingdom which is notorious than that of Idi Amin. Whoever opposes them, whoever does not ascribe to their party deserves to die. They have been they have been inciting their goons to come and attack me from here. That's why you see the policemen there. Attack me for what? Simanya, people power teacher testimony. That's why people keep calling me President Wabanda. The testimony is there. Abantu basomesa butiko simanya miyende bichi tegaliwo. So njagala kubagamba nti buli muntu yenna ayagala okulonda ngaleeta gavumenti egenda okukuuma obulamu bwaffe n'ebyaffe etukulaakulanye totekwa kulonda kikopawo terina agenda terina manye banamuge mwagala to be having a problem with Bob Wine, but his people, why do they insult us? Why do they speak lies against us and he keeps quiet? That's where my problem with him is. They said we are his people. I'm Bob Wine's spokesperson, Lumbuye, Peng, whoever. Why do you keep quiet? Why don't you have a press conference like this one and you say, those people, we don't know them, or we know them, but the line they are trading, please, we disassociate ourselves with whatever words they speak. They are keeping quiet. So, I'm determined to crush that kingdom. A kingdom which is notorious than that of Idi Amin. Whoever opposes them, Whoever does not ascribe to their party deserves to die. They have been, actually, they have been inciting their goons to come and attack me from here. That's why you see the policemen there. Attack me for what? Simanya, people power teacheraga testimony omukwana chusensi. That's why people keep calling me President Wabantu. The testimony is there. Abantu basomesa butiko simanya miyembe biti tebyaliwo. So njagala kubagamba nti buli muntu yenna ayagala okulonda ngaleeta gavumenti egenda okukuuma obulamu bwaffe n'ebyaffe etukulaakulanye toteekwa kulonda people power. Terina agenda. Terina. Manyi banamuge mwagala nnyo okubuuza walidde mmeka. Temukkiriza mu bantu balina independent minds. Otegera. Nze gwe mulaba wano ebibiina ebyakatandika byonna bimpisi. Buli kibiina bandiko mbagamba ndi mukunyonyola banange sinakwata kantu konna bwe nakwata ettooke mujja kuliraba nze ndikwata kaati ate ettooke zino sente za mwiwa musolo Museveni bwazipa abazipadde nze bwe nakwata ettooke nja kubatuuza ate nze ndi mugabi buli muna mawulire nja kumuwa mukikuleko mu ngalo enti bonna abanajja press conference njagala bampe emmotoka ngenda nsomesa abantu mbayigiriza okuva mu bwavu. Mwami Museveni sebo nkwegasseeko sigenda kuyingira mu kibiina kyo kya NRM naye byenjagala okukolera eggwanga lyange mmanyi osobola okunyamba okubituukiriza. Njagala ompe emmotoka eyo ontereko ne pick-up eringira eri mu nnimiro lino lyange lyenvugamu nga ngenda ku TV okusomesa abantu naye olimpeera mu lwatu
ne kadi ya NUP ennaku 27 era nga tujja kujjukirako nti emabega kaawo yali yakwatibwa ebitongole by'okwerinda nga bamulanga olwokuba nti ayina ebigambo yayogera nga byekuusa kuba westerners olwokuba nti benyigira mu kibataka. Ebyo byonna byali they were just allegations and then later on n'ayingira ekibiina kya NUP era mwamaze ennaku 27 ng'akutte kaadi eyo. Olunaku olw'eggulo omukulu basajja mivule Bwaddene Nsolo Nkambwe yakoze press conference era nga eyabadde ekubirizibwa Ssaabavulu Balamu olw'okuva olunyuma lw'okumwaniriza okuyingira ekibiina kya NRM. Luvannyuma nnyo yakoze yawaddeyo ebyetaago bye nga bw'omuwulidde nti ayagala emmotoka etawulira binnya. Kitegeeza enguudo z'abadde ayogerako weeziri. So ayagala emmotoka etawulira binnya nfe ekyokukola enguudo then n'ayagala ne pick-up esobola otuuka mu farms. Latifah, what do you make of that?
Let me first come out there and speak to my Swahili people. Kabla tujakuja kuongelea Basaja Muvule, tulikuwa tunaongelea Alwi ambayo walifariki na familia yake. Actually mke wake ndo alifariki kwenye maji wapokuwa wako kwa boti. Boti kapinduka, bibi yake Super Shakira na mtoto wake wakakufa. Sasa Alwi na mtoto mwingine ambaye anaitwa Jafalu hawajakufa. Mwili mke wake Shakira imetolewa kwenye maji na mtoto wao Amira bado yuko kwenye maji na wanatafuta mwili wake. Sasa saizi tunaongelea mtu ambayo anaitwa Muvule. Ni journalist na mtu ambayo alikuwa akitukana NRM party na akisema NRM party ni party ya wajinga. Lakini saizi vile tunaongea yuko ana join NRM party baada ya siku 27 ya kukua kwenye party ya Chagulanyi NUP. Sasa ukiangalia mtu kama Muvule ni ngumu sana kumfahamu. Watu wengi wanasema yuafanana Andrew Mwenda ambayo na alikuja kwenye NUP party akasema na yeye yuataka NUP card. Sasa hao watu wawili na kuongezea na mtu ambaye anaitwa Stella Nyanzi, wote walijoin party ya NUP, lakini saizi tunawaona wametoka na wote wanatukana party ya NUP. Now when we look at Basaja Mivule Simon Chris Makanga, we're looking at a man who was once a critic of NRM.
True.
And then he came up and said he was joining People Power, and only for 27 days, and he left People Power, and now he has gone back to joining NRM and asking for a car. Now his excuse for asking for a car is that the People Power supporters have accused him of asking for a car from the president, and so he is bringing it forward and making their words true by asking for that particular pickup. Now Mvule has come up to defame the person of Bobby Wine by saying that, one, he's a weed smoker and a weed grower, and that Bobby Wine is in support of gay activists, and he is himself a gay activist, and he calls upon parents not to support Bobby Wine. Now, a person like Mvule is very, very confusing. You joining a party in 27 days and then moving out of it and calling them dictators and the fact that they're weed smokers and they're gay activists. As a journalist, did you not have that information before you joined NUP? Because you are the person that has come up to talk about different political parties and blame them for the different things that they have not done, including NRM as a party. And you're now coming up to say that you did not know that People Power was a gay activist, and you did not know that People Power was all these things that you're talking about when you joined NRM. It's very confusing. People like Andrew Mwenda and Mivule, when you see what they're trying to do, a lot of people may say that they're looking for, one, popularity, and two, they're looking for money in this political season. And a lot of people would agree, because once you're not principled, once you're a hypocrite, you know, you're a hypocrite, and you're being hypocritical in what you're doing, it only shows that, one, you don't have a stand, two, you don't know what you want, and three, it's only a matter of other cameras flashing and people looking at me. Now, Balaam, the coin collector of NRM, should be very careful about who he's bringing forward or bringing towards the NRM party, because you're going to bring people who, of course, we know that in the politics of Uganda, money moves. People change parties because of so many reasons. We've seen the Nambozo group changing parties because they know NUP has support, and that's what they're looking for. We've seen people joining NRM because of money, and we've seen people joining different political parties for different reasons. So it really questions the, you know, agility and ease in which he moved from opposition to now the ruling party.
When you look at events happening to the country, looking at different political players or analysts crossing from one party to the other, it gets me thinking that some artists, music artists in this country, live in this world but not of this world. Because when you look at one artist sang a song that Befula, and I want to assume that, or assure the general public that there was a certain kind of a spirit that was seated on that person's head. By the time he came up with that song, that Befula, that means he knew or he predicted that at one point in time, such people live amongst ourselves. So, and this is also related to the fact that at one point, the president of Uganda said that come 2021, there may not be opposition in this country. And we've seen Basaja Mivule being one of the, he has been so critical of this regime. Literally, he has not appreciated nothing in this regime. Naye, okuvayo nasale deal, at this point in time, being addressed by Sabavulu Balam. Chikulagira olwatu, nti agenze kulya. Tubalabye bangi ababadde batwalibwayo Sabavulu Balamu, ne bavaayo n'ekyoja mwoyo, nga basanyufu, ne batulaganako ne ku ssente nga bali mmotoka zaabwe. But this is what it means to be close to the president of Uganda. So ye okuvaayo n'agamba nti asaze eddiiro in line with Sabavulu Balam. It shows enough that nti naye agenze kola kulya. And he's not the first person we've seen crossing to the NRM. We've seen quite a number of them. But one would wonder, or one would sit back and ask themselves, where are those people? Are they pro-people or pro their own interest? That is a question everyone would wonder.
One of the reasons that Balaam was arrested was actually because he castigated the NRM party. Basaja Mivule, sorry, was arrested was because he castigated the NRM party for only recruiting Westerners. And he said that the country is led by Westerners who are rich because the NRM party helps them to do that. And that's one of the reasons he was arrested. Now, when he was arrested for castigating the NRM, a lot of people say that when he was there, they convinced him to join the NRM. Now, seeing that he came back and he joined People Power, people were like, okay, maybe Bamukubye knew when he was arrested, so he decided enough is enough with the NRM party, I'm joining NUP. So we don't know exactly what are his reasons for joining these different political parties in a very short time span. And in order to understand that, the best way, I have always said, is to talk to the person himself. Talk to Basaja and ask him, Mivule, what happened? Why are you moving from one party to another? They call them party prostitutes. Why are you moving from one party to another and not knowing where you want to belong? Because he also said that I'm not joining the NRM party, Mr. President.
He's joining President Museveni.
I'm joining the person of President Museveni. However, but President Museveni is NRM and NRM is President Museveni.
Absolutely. However, we need to cut him a slack on that because it's his democratic right.
Oh, it is.
It is.
It is everybody's democratic right. But as a journalist, as an old person of over 18 and as a person who will want to participate in politics in the years to come, I still don't think that not having a stand is good for him and good for his personality.
Well, besides him being a journalist, he's been an analyst for quite some long time. And like I said, it's his right to choose where he belongs or choose what side he believes in. I mean, we are Democratic Republic of Uganda. But that doesn't take away the fact that whatever he's been speaking about have withered. So he has been critical of the political environment in this country, the poor roads, the education system, the health system. Now, what does it mean for him going to, or him joining the ruling party, or joining what President Museveni believes in? Does it mean that
Agambia he's not joining the NRM party. So Agambia he's not joining the political party. He's joining President Museveni. So at the end of the day, he divided the two, and that is Mivule's stand. And he says that and I think agenda kulambula parties ona agenda ku FDC alabe what is missing in FDC. FDC, on that note, FDC is still struggling with the absence of Kizza Besigye, but hopefully they'll take over. Agenda ku DP agambe wanange DP muli kuchi alabe agambe nedda, you people know, don't go to DP. No, but Mao is failing terribly and I don't think he's the best leader for DP. Aveo agenda to UPC agambe wanange UPC is a weak party muveyo te.
Let me ask you something, Latifah. It just crossed my mind. What if it's a stunt? And maybe what if he's being employed by the no people to spy on the government or to spy on NRM?
Well, I'll tell you one thing about politics and the game of politics. A lot of people have said politics is a dirty game. And it's a game whereby money talks and Gonzaga walks. So we are at a position whereby even if Basaja Mivule was paid to do all these things, at the end of the day, we've repeated ourselves several times and said, Mudia Sente, when they bring money to you and say, vote for me, eat that money. But as a person, as an individual, who do you want, what do you want plays a role in all this. Now, as we're speaking about Basaja Mivule, I want us to drag it a little bit to go back to Stella Nyanzi. When Stella Nyanzi was FDC and held the red beret and said, I'm both FDC and NUP. Now, as we are discussing that, Stella Nyanzi has also come up to publicly castigate Honorable Robert Chagulanyi, and she says that she cannot trust a person who lies about the smallest things such as age. She cannot trust him to be the next president of the nation. So She says enough is enough. I am not supporting him, and I'm saying he's not the best president of the Republic of Uganda. Now, when Robert Kyagulanyi came up to explain and talk about the age issue and academic issue, Stella also came back and said, now I understand what you've explained. It is okay. I understand what you've explained, and you seem right about your explanation. So I'll come back to supporting you. Now, such people who don't have a stand and go with what is there are very confusing.
And very hard to trust.
Exactly.
Indeed.
However, Malema Birizi came up and questioned Robert Kyagulanyi's age and academic stand, but Robert Kyagulanyi took his sweet time and then later came up to say, oh, why? This is the explanation I have about what you're petitioning me on. Let's look at what Robert Kyagulanyi has to say, and we'll be back to discuss more about this.
Nsonga revolution yaffe nagezaako kutusala speed naye kubanga era mmanyi nti waliyo bannaffe eyo abayinza okubanga emitima gyabwe gibenyise obanga beeraliikiridde olw'ebyo ebiyitiŋŋana ebikwatagana ku kusoma kwange n'emyaka gyange.
Mu ngeri y'emu Honorable Kyagulanyi ategeezezza nga zino ensonga bwe zizzenga akakodyo ak'okunafuya bannabyabufuzi abavuganya gavumenti, era bw'atyo n'alaga egimu ku misango egizze gimuvunaanibwa okuva lwe yayingira ebyobufuzi ng'ali ku ludda oluvuganya gavumenti.
Gavumenti wewe yagadde okulwanyisa abo abagivuganya wabadde ngawo bannayuganda abeereeta bonga betegefu okozesebwa bangi badde bannaffe abalala badde ku bantu abatumanyi abalala bannayuganda ababeereeyo naye nga bo tebibakwatako ne baba balimba kasi ababanga babadde sente. Ku Dr. Besigye bakozesa bakyakuwa bakozesa bakizi.
Honorable Kyagulanyi atangazizza ku buzaale bwe kossa n'amasomero ag'enjawulo ge yasomeramu era n'alaga ensobe eyogerwako ey'emyaka kwe yava.
Nze Kyagulanyi Sentamu nazaalibwa nga 12 omwezi ogwokubiri omwaka 1982 banzalira nkozi. Mukulu wange ali awo gwe bayita Julius Walakira ng'ono gwenzirako nga maama y'omu ne taata y'omu bamuzaala nga 23 omwezi ogw'ekumi omwaka 1979.
Ne ku nsonga y'amannya Honorable Kyagulanyi alaze engeri erinnya Sentamu gye lyali likoleddwamu ensobi naye nga kati lyatereezebwa.
Erinnya erimu wa Sentamu nga waliwo single S eddala nga waliwo double S naye nga byonna byange nga nze Kyagulanyi Sentamu emu eriko single S endala eriko double S baadde bagufudde musango. Naye njagala okubategeeza nti nayo neyo ensonga twagitereza mu 2017 we nali ngenda okwesimbawo ku bubaka bwa parliament nakola kye bayita statutory declaration ng'amateeka bwe geetaaga era ekyo ne kiterezebwa era ensonga lwaki banominatinga okwesimbawo ng'omubaka wa parliament.
Sooka namba 783 wekuusa ku mawulire ge wa passport office ng'agirima nti bamuzaala mu 1982 ate nga obujulizi bwonna okuva mu UNEB okuva ne Makerere bulaga nti Kyagulanyi wa 1980 obujulizi obwo Kyagulanyi yabusaako omukono gwe. Akati mu kawaayiro 313 ak'etteeka lya penal code omuntu waliwo omusango ogw'enjawulo ogw'okulimba passport office kati omusango gwe muvunaanye ningatako n'emisango emirala ogusookera ddala gwegw'okwamawulire ag'obulimba eri passport office n'okumuwandika mu kitabo ky'abafunye passport ng'abalimba lima mu 1982 ate nga musajja bamuzaala mu 1980. Omusango gw'okubiri 784 gwekuusa ku mawulire ge yawa parliament ng'agigamba bamuzaala mu 1982 ate nga ebiwandiiko byonna byonna ebiri e Makerere ebiri ku bino ebiragalwa 1980. Kati mu ngeri eyo yabudizaabuza parliament n'agiwa amawulire amafu ne bamuwandiika batyo. Kati ekigendererwa ekikulu kiri nti mu kawaayiro 12 akasemateeka omuntu okusemba kuba president talina kuba mulimba talina kuba mukuusa. Kati ono kasita tufuna conviction ne bagamba nti mukuusa yalimbako tuba tumugye ku ballot paper okumala emyaka 7 kale kanakola batakeetabaamu nakataka batakeetabaamu awo wali ekinyusi.
Edith Nabagereka, STV Select ey'enjawulo.
You have it. You have Malema Birizi explaining why he has petitioned the EC to give him Chagulanyi's results, and he has also petitioned NIRA to give him the edge and passport registration of Robert Chagulanyi. Now, when we look at the controversial issues that are happening in this particular case, Malema Birizi came and questioned a lot about Bobi Wine, and people were saying, will Bobi Wine make it in the 2021 ballot paper? And here he has come back with a very strong argument explaining the things that happened. Now, Simon Chris, when we look at Robert Chagulanyi's explanation, it actually makes a lot of sense in the disparity in his age. He corrects that the 1980 and 1982 mistake was done when he was sitting for his primary 7 examinations. He says he was smart. He made that very clear that he was smart, that the school and his parents asked him to sit P7 when he was actually in P6. But UNEB has a particular age in which someone can sit the primary leaving examination, something that needs to be changed. Because I have seen a lot of students who are smart and don't have to sit the whole P1, P2, P3, P4, P5, and can sit P7 with the same students and pass in flying colors. Now they need to change the age limit. Why would I be forced to finish university at 20 when I can finish it at a younger age? I don't understand that. I mean, it's something worth discussing. Can we look as UNEB at a reason in which we change the age, let me call it age limit, of students who are sitting for PLE and just leave it open? Because it is about the IQ of a student. If I can sit for that particular paper, then let me do it and go through.
There is any age limit to that, because it depends on what year you started school. There are people who started school as early as 2 years, like my daughter. There are people who start school as early as 3 years, some 4. So it depends.
It's not really about the age in which you start school, according to the argument of Robert Chagulanyi and the reason why he changed his age. It's about the fact that he started school at 3 years. However, as he was continuing, he jumped a class because he was smart, and they took him to P7 to do the PLE. And according to Chagulanyi, there is a certain, you know, an age limit on the UNEB petition that says whoever is sitting for PLE needs to be at a certain age. And that's why the school advised him to change his birth year from 1982 to 1980 to make him a lot older than what he was in order to sit the PLE, and that is what he did, and that is where the confusion came in. However, UNEB itself came up to defend him and said it is true, this is exactly what happened.
First and foremost, I want to applaud Malema Birizi for the very first time. Now I'm getting to realize that he's smart. Having brought this to the limelight.
You're realizing it now?
Yes.
Because I know you have sat for a long time.
However, it doesn't take away the fact that he has intentions behind this.
Well, definitely everybody has intention, but I know you've sat and definitely castigated the person of Malema Birizi for reasons.
Definitely, yeah, for certain reasons I have. But he's really brought some issues in the limelight, and I want to deviate a little bit from what is happening between him and Robert Chagulanyi.
Yes.
What he has brought to us as Ugandans to know that there are some things we take for granted, especially when it comes to our names, age, but later they really catch you up with time. Like what exactly has happened to Robert Chagulanyi. I'm pretty sure that at one point in life, he never knew that we land into this. I'm sure about that.
I think he
but
did.
I want to applaud.
I think Robert Chagulanyi did that. He knew that he was going to fall into this particular trap, because if you look at the history of where he started correcting his particulars, he actually did from the time he went as the MP Shadondo East. You can see that he tried correcting his particulars. He went to the MP website and said, the parliamentary website, and said, can you change my age from this to this? I've already explained what happened. He went to NIRA and explained himself and said, the reason why my age is this is because of ABCD, but I want to have my real age on my particulars. And then he made sure that he corrected the issue with his academic documents. And that's why right now he can stand and say, my explanation to everything that happened is ABC, and he is very confident in what he's doing.
I know. Now, anyone would wonder, Chigwerawa. Chigenda kugwerawa. Because I'm pretty sure, no,
it's done.
There'll be at a point, there's a clause that says that the law gives power to the state through application to magistrate to take over proceedings in any private prosecution. And this, in simple terms, it states that that the state may take interest in the case against Kyagulanyi and can apply to take over it.
Well,
and we know they could, if there is anyone who is interested or kulemesa Robert Kyagulanyi okwesimbawo, they can take into they can take over the
they
case.
Cannot. You
and
know
where
why
does
I'm saying,
where does Mabirizi
you know
get
why
benefit
I'm
from
saying,
this?
You know why I'm saying they cannot, before we go into the benefits of Mabirizi, why they cannot take over this case is that UNEB itself has come up to defend Bobby Wine. And at the end of the day, you know that for UNEB to come up and defend NUP Robert Kyagulanyi, as I'm saying, is because they know the truth behind it. NIRA has come up to state its position in that particular session of Robert Kyagulanyi. The parliamentary website has also come up to defend his position. And you know, if they had a way, they would not defend it. But because they know there's truth in what he's saying, what everybody has seen playing on STV, then they know there's nothing to attack him about.
And I think one thing we've also come to realize that the law is smarter than we think. Because it can catch you up in any angle. Now imagine how much time has been lost by Kyagulanyi. Just simply trying to explain
time hasn't been lost, or time hasn't been lost.
Time
Simon
has been lost.
Do you know why I'm saying time hasn't been lost? Kyagulanyi has gotten the media attention that he needed. Do you know what Malema Birizi did to Kyagulanyi? Is literally
it's not
put him.
Who has gotten the media
Malema
attention.
Birizi. No, it is Kyagulanyi. You know why I'm saying it's Kyagulanyi? Malema Birizi has come up to talk about Kyagulanyi and say he has failed in 1, 2, 3 positions. He has failed in his mathematics and his physics, and he has gotten F9s. Yeah, he has literally tarnished the person of Kyagulanyi. And the smart piece that Kyagulanyi played on his chessboard was to sit down and relax and watch Malema Birizi ruin himself in the dirt. He sat and took, whoever advised him was smart, because he sat and took his time and let him play and tarnish his name, and people were doubting Robert Kyagulanyi, including Stella Nyanzi, and then he later came up to say, oh, why, this is what it is. It is A, B, C, D, and his explanation made a lot of sense. Now, people are still not campaigning on TVs and radios, right? But Mabirizi put Kyagulanyi in every newspaper. He put him in every social media. He put him on every media house. Literally, Kyagulanyi has scored. That is what Malema Birizi did to Robert Kyagulanyi.
But
he has put him out there.
Malema Birizi has really scored, and I'm pretty sure, I know him, he has really scored.
For me, it's not Malema Birizi, but it is Robert Kyagulanyi's win.
We've seen him raise quite a number of petitions. And what is his intention behind that? Because look at this. He's petitioning his academic credentials, he's petitioning his age, all those kind of things. But one would wonder, for
me, what Malema Birizi is doing is not as important as the results of what he has done. Because once an action is taken, there's a result that comes from the action that has been taken. And literally what Malema Birizi did was put Robert Kyagulanyi in the limelight, tarnish his name. Robert has come back with a defense that I want to see what Malema Birizi is going to come back with. Because he has literally given Robert a platform to explain himself, and people are sitting and saying, oh, no, Msajja Mugezi. You know how you tell people, I was smart, that's why I jumped from one class to another. And then he also came up to explain to Malema Birizi that the reason why my academic credentials are in such confusion is because I moved from one school to another. Now, at that point, what Bobby Wine did was attach himself and his feelings to people like him who have moved from one school to another, and people like him who have been too broke to go and do the course that they want. Because according to Robert Kyagulanyi, in university, he had a course that he wanted. But because they couldn't afford it, he had to take on the course that the government had given to him, the government-related course, and that was the music, dance, and drama. So he's really smart. At this time, he has taken the support of different people in this particular arena and position that Malema Birizi put him in.
Well, as we do take a break, you do remember that there's another city lawyer, that is Mwadan Kunyinji, who also wanted the Electoral Commission to avail him with the academic papers of the president of Uganda. We are waiting to see where that lands as we do take a break.
Definitely.
And the first show will turn shortly after the commercials.
abalamuzi babagamba nti if the incumbent president frustrates all democratic means to leave power temusibayo muntu n'omu ku treason. This is why Besigye is released. Museveni ekibi kyalina talina mawulire. Nawandika n'ekitabo kyange the role of which could have been a malicious society sapule njijjamu
noyingire sabo
katonda wa bujja nze katonda w'obujja bw'oba olaga eri sapule togitwala omusajja omubbi bamujja ewuwe ewaka kabanga lyezi ne bamujja ewuwe ewaka yabadde mu ttooyi naye tebamukkiriza na tusanatayizi bamutadde butese mu piikaavu ba mu state house naye omukyayina bwe yawulidde nti ono bamukutte yeesize kiwi yayitiddeko yadduse ng'omuddugavu.
bampita Dr. Franklin Mondo Mugisha wano ku STV biri ku makyakera nange nga twogera ku nsonga ez'enjawulo engeri tusobola okwezimba mu ggwanga lyaffe engeri tusobola okuzimba gye tubeera gye tuva wategedde obwavu lwa kibuluma mikwano gy'abaavu baani otambula otya osula otya okusalawo okwo okw'obulamu kutandikira ku nfunayo emikwano gy'abagagga n'abaavu tusobola ogitegeera no ku STV tugenda kwogera ku nsonga z'abaslay queen tutambula tutya kukyusa omulembe gw'abawala baffe kubanga bafuuka bavunaanyizibwa era nga bakozi nga banoonyi ba kikumi tugenda kwogera ku bakanyama bazimba batya emibiri ye omubiri bwe gulimu ssente oba bwe bulamu bwe twetaaga omukazi tasobola kuleka musajja w'emmotoka mukaaga mbwakute akwate 6 pack amufune mbubatambule naye wano ku STV Big Network. See ya.
olwogoto lwa waaka.
Hey guys, you're watching STV. Select for fun.
Latifah, Hamid and Simon Chris Makanga, and we're talking about a number of issues for you who has just joined us. We started with the death of Super Shakira, the wife to Hassan Alwi, the proprietor of International University of East Africa, and her daughter Amira Alwi, who died while on a boat cruise, and when they opened the Chira Dam, the power was too much and the boat capsized. And then we talked about Muvule, who moved from the NUP party after 27 days of joining the party and is now an NRM supporter after he insulted NRM before he was arrested. And then later we got into Robert Kyagulanyi, who had an amazing comeback to Male Mabidi's concern about his age and his academic documents. Now, as we are moving forward into our discussion, we want to get back to the number of COVID-19 cases and deaths that the country has registered. We haven't talked about it today, earlier on in the morning. And the country has registered 2,976 cases. The numbers rising every day. And we have also registered 32 deaths in the country. Now, the government and the Ministry of Health has said that it is going to charge 240,000 Ugandan shillings for those who want to test for COVID-19. Now, before we dive into the session, I would like to talk about the death of Chadwick Boseman. Simon Chris, I know that you're looking at me. And before we jump into the coronavirus situation, see, Chadwick Boseman, for me, represented the true African meaning of a hero. For a very long time, the TV or television has not had an African hero as strong as Chadwick Boseman. And we've known him for the movie Black Panther, and a lot of us went crazy over that movie. I remember I went to cinemas to watch Chadwick Boseman play Black Panther, and we're wondering, how good is he going to be while he's playing Black Panther? And then he played it amazingly, spectacular performance. And what surprised us is that he knew he had cancer even when he was playing that movie. And it only comes to show us how strong a person he was and how strong his personality was, because for you to know that you have cancer and the doctors tell you how long you're going to live for, and you still stand there and act the movie like you know what you're doing, like you don't know that you have cancer. I salute you, Chadwick Boseman. And the African society and the world has lost a very, very, very important person.
I'm pretty sure that he raised the black movement in that movie Black Panther.
Oh, he represented us.
The black
He
movement
Wakanda forever.
Exactly.
You know.
And he will be remembered for that, at least. And there's something, when I watched that movie, one thing that came into my mind as a Pan-Africanist, it showed me that, yes, whites have been dominating the governance of this world, but sooner than later, Africa at one time will be the superpower.
Wakanda forever, we shall take over. Now, the second Black Panther is going to come up, and everybody was wondering, after the death of Chadwick Boseman, who is going to be our next superhero? Yo, Wakanda forever, Mansour. Who is going to be our next superhero? And then we are surprised to see that his sister, who acted in the first Black Panther, is going to take over and be the new African superhero. We're waiting to see her performance, and we're waiting to see how she will do.
Absolutely,
Yes.
may his soul rest in eternal peace, and we have to say that Wakanda forever. Well, away from that, let's come back into the country, and we are speaking about COVID-19 that is still eating up this nation, and lots of things or controversies surrounding COVID-19 in the country. We were expecting the president of Uganda last week to address the nation in regards to COVID-19. However, we do know that he's going to be meeting the task force today, which is a Tuesday, like he promised us on Saturday, that agenda kuba meetinga abakulu abakulira abali ku kakiiko ka task force bakube empenda oba basobola okuba nga baggulawo amasomero n'amakanisa wamu n'amabaala oba ebifo ebisanyukibwamu. We can't wait to hear from whatever will come out from that discussion. That means we expect him to address the nation sooner than later. Besides that, Permanent Secretary mu Minister of Health, Honorable Diana Atwine, yavuddeyo n'atongoza emitwalo 24 n'ekitundu ez'okubanga bw'oba owulira oyagala okutestinga oba okukebera ekirwadde kya COVID-19 ogenda kubanga osasula ssente ezo. N'abo abavuga ebimotoka biroole ebiyingira eggwanga, they are going to be subjected to a mandatory 245 Ugandan shillings. Even those that are returning into the country from different countries, they will be subjected to that figure. Latifah, Hamid.
240,000 Ugandan shillings. They said 240,500. I don't know if it has increased now. And Makanga University is saying they are producing test kits that are supposed to be distributed for free. Now, when you look at these two disparities, two things come in mind. The Ugandan government or Ugandan Ministry of Health or COVID-19 task force was given a lot of money for fighting COVID-19 by different countries that came up. We have donations that were taken to the office of the Prime Minister, ranging from cars to food to money given to the COVID-19 task force in regard to the fight against COVID-19. Now, when you look at the situation that is going on, Simon Chris Makanga, the members of parliament distributed certain amount of money for them to help them fight COVID-19 in their communities.
Actually feed their communities. That was the intention, because they said their voters are asking food from them, and they hardly have nothing.
So it's about
provide.
the popularity.
So not even popularity. So to avoid the embarrassment as members of parliament, they were given 20 million.
Don't call it embarrassment.
I hear.
Call it to avoid not being voted in the next general elections. That is what it was, Simon Chris Makanga. That is because at the end of the day, for you to ask that much money not to be embarrassed is an embarrassment in itself. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And then we had the OPM staff increasing the amount of money for the food that they were bringing to OPM to be delivered to the people. And the food that was being delivered was poor quality. And then we had a lot of money that was put in mask distribution in the country and making of these masks in the different companies. That one was also passed. Now the question is, for all the plans that the government made in the fight against COVID-19 from the 18th of March 2020 to now, you mean you did not know that the country would run out of test kits? You mean you did not know that you needed to let Makanga University research students run and continue developing solutions for the country of Uganda?
We have been raised as a nation and as a continent in a certain way. We have been raised with beliefs that we can do nothing for ourselves. We have been raised in a way that we have to be spoon-fed in each and everything. No wonder our own university is trying their best to produce test kits that can be afforded at a cheaper price. It is not so lost on me that a few weeks ago we hosted the guild president Makanga University, Mr. Katerega. Na tukakasa nga university researcher bwe bagezaako kulaba nga bafulumya test kits ze bayinza okugabira obwereere. And to my shock as a Ugandan, as a journalist, that those test kits or those youth or whoever is involved in the production of those test kits, instead of them being empowered, we are busy crying as a nation that we do not have money to procure test kits from different countries. Am I wrong to say that we are used to being spoon-fed as Africans? Must we wait for other countries to develop test kits and then import them into the country? Or we can wake up and then produce test kits as a nation, all as Ugandans?
Now, at 2,972 COVID-19 cases in the country, and at 32 deaths of COVID-19 in the country, we have been put at a position whereby the number of COVID-19 cases are going to increase. Kapush.
Definitely.
Finished. Because at 240,000 Ugandan shillings, who is going to test for COVID-19? People have been let out from their jobs. People haven't worked for 5 to 4 months. You're literally telling us that the only people that are going to check for COVID-19 are the rich. So the poor, mulindeko, until you get symptoms of COVID-19, will bring you to the hospital, will treat you for free, and will check you for free. So in order for Latifah Hamid, who can't afford 240,000 Ugandan shillings for a checkup, or her company is not paying for her to do checkup, that means she won't know that she has COVID-19 until she's at a situation where she's taken to a private clinic and she dies from COVID-19.
Well, I'm trying to look at the other side of the coin, Latifah. I think it would be a good move because there are quite a number of people who would love to be tested. And whoever could afford, it would be okay. But then the only challenge comes in from the people who are involved on the task force or people manning the task force. First and foremost, it is so annoying that from the time they've received donations, grants, contributions, there has not been any accountability for that money. Had they given us that accountability, that twafuna sente bweziti, tukozesezaako bweziti, kati twetaaga bweziti. So there's no accountability, and you are subjecting Ugandans to 245 Ugandan shillings. It's a lot of money, by the way. Had they given us accountability, twetaaga sente bweziti, and the only way for us to achieve that money, tutekewo kundi buli ayagala omukebera sasula sente zino, sente ze musasula zidde no ku task force, maybe zitujja tuyambako n'okupurchasinga testing kits at a low price. nikachinyiza until there's no accountability that has been brought forward, and you bring other figures, or you're subjecting Ugandans to other figures that no one omuntu wa wansi can afford.
Nasema watu ambayo wanatuangalia saizi na mko kwenye Facebook na mko kwenye Instagram na mko kwenye WhatsApp, tunawauliza maswali. Mnafikiria nini kwa pesa ambayo Uganda imeweka shilingi 240 ya Uganda, kwa kuwa hiyo ndo pesa ambayo mtakuwa mnalipa mkiwa mna check for COVID-19? Watu wengi wanasema ni pesa nyingi sana, lakini Simon Chris mwenyewe anasema ni a very good, motion kwa watu ambayo wanaweza kulipa hizo pesa, wazilipe na wakuwe wanaangalia kama wana COVID-19. Lakini back to what I'm trying to say, Simon Chris Makanga, that money is a lot. And the only way that money will make sense is if it's levied on truck drivers who are coming into the country. If it's levied on, although it's also not fair, if it's levied on people who are coming into the country from abroad. Say, because now the airports are being opened, we have tourists who are coming in, we have people from UN who are coming in, and we have others who are stuck in these different countries who are coming into into Uganda. Now, those are the people that the money should be levied on, and also companies. Now, it makes a lot of sense if, say, STV as a family pays that money for their workers to be checked. Of course, there has to be an amicable agreement that I'm not paying 240 for every worker. There has to be a cut fee because I'm paying for over 200 workers at my workplace. Now, what I will call upon the government of Uganda, or the Ministry of Health, to do at this position is that what they ought to do is, when a company pays 240, not all that money will go for a test kit. So can they divide that money to a point that if that money is being paid by a certain company, that's a huge sum of money, then we need to divide it to a point that the very little money that we get from that can help in testing the majority of poor Ugandans who cannot afford to pay the 240. Now, that's the only way that the 240 makes sense.
But we also need to investigate and find out, does it really, does a testing kit really cost $65?
But before we become that negative, I'd like to applaud the government of Uganda for actually testing people.
Latifah.
Why I'm saying that? Why I'm saying we are being
realistic.
No, why I'm saying we're being negative, Simon Chris, is once you look at that figure, the first thing you think about is, how am I going to feed my son when I'm supposed to test my whole family for COVID-19? But I'd like to applaud the government of Uganda for testing us for all this time. 350,000 tests have so far been done without the government of Uganda asking for money for a lot of people that have been tested. There was community testing that was pushed out, and people were tested for free. Now, the first companies that asked for the Ministry of Health to test them did not have this amount of money levied on them. So we thank the government of Uganda for using the resources that we gave to them to test us for COVID-19. Now, we are at a position where companies ought to pay in order for their people to be tested. Tick.
Well,
let's go ahead with that.
On a positive note, yesterday the Minister of Health, Dr. General Cheng, commissioned some ICU beds, intensive care unit beds, and it's a good one for the country. I think now we can see that the money that was contributed is being used. And there's also that leverage that the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Health, Honorable Diana Atwine, said that they will keep on testing those that develop signs and symptoms for free. So if you feel like you have developed the signs and symptoms, you can you can call the Ministry of Health, and then they test you for free. However, we need to make this clear to the general public that the 240,000 Ugandan shillings is subjected to those that are cautious, or they feel like they need to do a test. They're subject to the truck drivers and companies. For instance, like you said, STV. If our boss feels like he needs to do a test onto his employees, our boss is subjected to that money. Buli muntu ayino kubanga gena musasulira emitwala 24,9
And also the people coming into the country.
Yeah, even people
now,
coming into the country.
We have also to understand that the Ugandan government, in the midst of using up wrongly the money that was given for the COVID-19 fight, have done their best in the fight against COVID-19 and utilizing the money that they were given. Now, when you look at developed countries like United States of America, like Canada, like the UK, what they do is, if you feel like you have signs and symptoms of COVID-19, in order not to waste money on the test kits, what they do is ask you to go home and self-quarantine for 14 days, even when you feel like you have the signs and symptoms of COVID-19. You lock yourself up for 14 days. Now, when you feel there's no change in those 14 days, then you call the Ministry of Health hotline and tell them, I have self-quarantined for 14 days, but I'm not okay. Then they bring you to the clinic, and then they do the test, and then they give you treatment. And that is what ought to be done in Uganda. To be fair, the tests are expensive because we are importing the tests. Had we created our own tests in Uganda, it would have been cheaper, and we would have pushed out community testing, and everybody would have been tested. But we are at the point where we are supposed to spend. And we're spending currency and taxpayers' money. And that means that we need to find a way to cut down the tests in the cost in the tests. And that's why we have also called upon, and we're supporting this move that the government has put up, is that when Latifah Hamid is at work and she feels like she has COVID signs and symptoms that we've talked about before, do you feel like you have a bit of flu? Do you feel like you have a bit of cough? Do you feel like you have difficulty in breathing? Do you feel like you have fever? And sometimes you also can smell or taste, and you have the discoloring of your nails, both on your hands and toes. Those are some of the symptoms of COVID-19. All you need to do is go home and self-quarantine, away from your family, away from everybody for 14 days. When you feel like it's not improving and you still feel sick, then call the Ministry of Health. And just like Dr. Diane Atwini has said, you will be tested for free, and you will receive treatment in these very many hospitals that we have.
Last week, I shared something, and I said that at this point in time, whereby COVID-19 is here, and we don't know when and where the vaccine will come out, I think it is now an individual fight against COVID-19. We need to develop individual measures on how we are going to fight this disease. And one thing that Dr. Kizza Besigye always says that if your body immunity is boosted, you are prone to fighting this COVID. I was speaking to one of my colleagues in the US, like I shared yesterday, that COVID is, yes, it's real. Yes. But it's not something big that it should scare you. Okay?
Oh, it's something big that it should scare you. I think what we're meant to say is that COVID-19 is here to stay, and we need to learn how to stay with it, but it is something big that should scare you.
Yes, it's big to scare, only if you have not been putting the SOPs into action. Otherwise, you're feeding yourself well, you're doing the exercise, you're maintaining your body immunity in shape. That means when this disease finds you, one advantage that we got from the World Health Organization is that it can be fought with your body immunity. That means it is something that, yes, that can shock you, but not as big as to raise your eyebrows.
Speaking of COVID-19, I would like to wish Rina a quick recovery. She does the EBAs, and she's not feeling too well. She was saying she feels like there are signs and symptoms of COVID-19, and she's self-isolating and trying her best to see that after 14 days, she will get better. And that's why you're not hearing her voice one of these days. But we wish her a quick recovery, and we hope she gets better. Now, as we are discussing COVID-19, I don't want to separate it from the political season and the high political energy that is happening in the country. Now, the FDC party has come up to say that they are not following the SOPs because the NRM members are not following the SOPs either. Now, this is what I've been saying. An eye for an eye makes the world a blind place. Can we not do things because the other party is not doing things? Set an agenda that they will be embarrassed enough to follow. We're at a position in a country whereby the political fever is high. And that means that scientific campaigns are not going to work all by itself. At the end of the day, the doors are going to be opened, and we're going to have rallies, whether we want it or not. But the question is, how careful are we as politicians? How careful are we as voters? How careful are we as proprietors of this election that is coming up? What are we doing in order to ensure that these elections are, one, free and fair, two, that we are taking care of the lives of the people that we are hoping will vote for us?
The president of Uganda on Saturday, during the national prayer day, or session, he said that 8 million people were involved in the voting of the youth. And it's not about numbers, it's about discipline.
Yes.
However, this goes back to the leaders in this country. Whoever is the leader, either you, for instance, the FDC, like you're seeing, their spokesperson, Honorable Semujunganda, this is the message we should be preaching, okay? Because we've seen them protect themselves, but then preaching a message like what the FDC said, that they're not going to follow the SOPs. They are going to go full campaign. And simply because that their colleagues are doing the same thing. It is so shocking, by the way, that the people you are informing or giving out that information, they have people to feed. If they lost their dear ones, if they lost their family members, I don't think that FDC at one point will come out to say that, yes, we are sorry, but we are taking over the responsibilities. Let's change that narrative. Let's preach a different message that COVID is real, okay? Between me and you, we know that COVID is real. Let's change the narrative and start preaching positive message to Ugandans that let's maintain the social distancing. Wherever you're going to meet your voters, can you tell them that, I know there is need for you to converge, but can you wear your mask? I've not seen any of them do that, by the way. Not really. I've not seen any of the opposition or any candidate, let it be NRM, let it be the opposition, sinalabayo muntu nomu avayo kugamba about informing their voters or supporters to maintain the SOPs that were provided by the Minister of Health.
Well, as we're coming to an end of this conversation, all we have to say is that as you are the agenda setters of the country, can you get to a place whereby you become the teachers of COVID-19 measures in this country? Because at the end of the day, if you don't want the 240,000 levied on you, why don't you take care of yourself? We've talked about the walk-in sanitizer that we ought to have. Even when you're having a political rally with people in close proximity to each other in a place like Nambole Stadium, for example, can we have a walk-in sanitizer so that when Latifah walks in, everything about her is sanitized, from her hair to her toe is sanitized. And then we have the temperature gun, and we make sure that everybody who walks in there has a certain temperature. At the end of the day, now you have guaranteed that people who are walking into Nambole don't have COVID-19, and you're guaranteeing that even when someone has, they're sanitized enough not to give it to someone else. So that's I mean, what we ought to do in the coming 2021 general elections, because I am not seeing a scientific election by itself. Kadodi was happening in Bali. It's the Kadodi season, and that's the circumcision season in Mbale, where people dance to the Kadodi music. It has been happening in Mbale, and people have been converging. Yes, so at the end of the day, these things will happen. The African society is used to being in a community, and COVID-19 is not going to change that. So it's up to you and me to make sure that we take care of ourselves and vote for the leaders that we want for the nation of Uganda.
Looking at what the statement that the president made on Saturday, that 8 million people were involved in the voting of the youth. And it's not about the numbers, it's about the discipline. Do you see us going full rallies or full campaign?
Electoral Commission will try its best to control the campaigns as much as it can. It will make sure that even when we're going for rallies, it may be a door-to-door campaign, or it may be we are allowing only this number of people in this particular position. They're not going to have a full-bound campaign, but that is good enough. Because you cannot say that we are having only scientific campaigns when NRM is paying for airtime for all their members who pass through the NRM primaries, which is which is happening this week on Friday, and the other political parties don't have enough money like NUP, and they're actually asking for people to collect money muda ku muda, and that's 10,000 each to bring into the force that NRM, that People Power is going through. Now there's a disparity in the amount of money that each party has, and that's why the scientific campaigns alone will be an unfair ground for these people to campaign on.
Well, from that point, the Fire Show is going to be taking a very short break, and we'll return with the business angle with Genesis Namale. For now, it's a good morning.
Abalamuzi babagamba if the incumbent president frustrates all democratic means to leave power, temusibayo muntu n'omu kutwiza. This is why Besigye is released. Museveni ekibi kyalina talina mawulire. Nawandika n'ekitabo kyange the role of which in malicious society sapule njijjamu
noyingire sabo
katonda wa bujja nze katonda w'obujja bw'oba olaga eri sapule twekitwala omusajja omubbi bamujja ewuwe ewaka kabanga lyezi ne bamujja ewuwe ewaka yabadde mu ttooyi naye tebamukkiriza na tusanatayizi bamutadde buteesi mu piikaavu ba mu state house naye omukyayina bwe yawulidde nti ono bamukutte yeesize kiwi yayitiddeko yadduse ng'omuddugavu.
Bampita Dr. Franklin Mugisha wano ku STV biri ku makyakera nange nga twogera ku nsonga ez'enjawulo engeri tusobola okwezimba mu ggwanga lyaffe, engeri tusobola okuzimba gye tubeera gye tuva, wategedde obwavu lwa kibuluma, mikwano gy'abaavu baani, otambula otya, osula otya. Okusalawo okwo okw'obulamu kutandikira ku nfunayo. Emikwano gy'abagagga n'abaavu tusobola ogitegeera wano ku STV. Tugenda kwogera ku nsonga z'aba Queen. Tutambula tutya kukyusa omulembe gw'abawala baffe kubanga bafuuka babuvunaanyizibwa era nga bakozi nga banoonyi ba kikumi. Tugenda kwogera ku bakanyama bazimba batya emibiri y'omubiri bwe guli mu ssente oba bwe bulamu bwe twetaaga. Omukazi tasobola kuleka musajja w'emmotoka mukaaga mbakute akwate 6 pack abufune mubatambule naye wano ku STV. Big network. See ya.
Hey guys, you're watching STV. Select for fun.
Olwogoto lwa waaka.
Hey guys, you're watching STV. Select for fun.
sana tena kwenye First Show ambayo inaletwa kwenu na mimi na Simon Chris na team kubwa sana nyuma ya cameras. Tuna Don, tuna Mansur, alafu tuna Husna, alafu pia tuna Adams Mayambala, watu ambao wanakaa nyuma ya screen hamwaoni lakini wako. Na saizi tumefika kwa program yetu ama section yetu ya business. Genesis atakuwa anatuambia fedha gani ambayo unahitaji kununua kwa time ya COVID-19. Lakini kabla hatujakwenda, wacha niwape mambo kidogo ambayo itakusaidia wewe kutokana na COVID-19 na situation ambayo inaendelea na kitu gani utakafanya na maisha yako. Now when we look at what we have to do today as the word of wisdom, the best way out is always through. Not around, not under, not above, but always through. See, when we are caught up in unseemingly situation that we usually look for the easy way out of the situation, we always have to remember that procrastination is the natural response. When you're caught up in a situation whereby things are hard, the best thing to do for you is put it aside and then deal with it at a later stage when you're ready to do it. However, this quote that says the best way for us is always through and not around it is said to remind us that when you're going through a problem, do not look for other solutions. Face it head on, and as a result, you find that good things begin to happen when you cease to delay and beat about the bush and take matters into your hands to resolve it. Now let's go to Genesis, who is ready to give us the rates of the US dollars and UK dollars and all the dollars that you want to know. Hi Genesis, how are you doing today?
Hello Latifah, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. You're good?
I'm great. I have enjoyed the topic of you and Chris, especially the part when you're talking about Robert Chagalani's issues with the academic papers and all the rest. But I'm not having that conversation with you right now.
Well, we will not have that conversation. But since we are talking money, the Ministry of Health has said it is levying 240,000 Ugandan shillings to people who want to test for COVID-19. What do you have to say about it?
That would be a very good idea, Latifah, because previously the Ministry of Health was not being helpful. Most of the people that wanted to do tests were actually having to pay for them. Actually, most of them, people that if you're an organization and you want to find out your health status over the coronavirus issue, you had to pay for it, and that is about 200,000 for a testing kit. That is extremely very expensive for the local Ugandan to afford. It means that people are going to be getting sick, and we will not even be able to figure it out because none of them, or the biggest percentage of them, will not be able to pay 200,000 for a testing kit. If that is the issue there, then that is a good idea.
Well, from 200,000, we have now gone to 240,000 Ugandan shillings. But hey, if that is for the good of everybody, let's go ahead with it. Companies pay so that other people can be tested for free. I mean, you have the money and other people don't. Yeah. Now, Genesis, apart from the exchange rates, do you have any economic advice for us out here?
Oh, definitely, Latifah. Good morning. Once again, it is the Tuesday, the first day of the month of September. And the month yesterday ended with lots of rains, and we will be expecting more rains come September. So actually, I'm thinking of always giving you an update on the weather forecast so you know how to budget your day and know when the rain will be coming, when it will be shining, and so on. But today, once again, it is the business angle with me, Genesis Namale, and let me talk about money. Today, I want to tell you something. Have you thought about having a side business out of your day-to-day 9 to 5 hours shift? You know, it is very risky. It is extremely very risky to start up a business, but it is more satisfying to be self-employed with all the benefits that come along with it. Here we are looking at you having a sick day when you need to, having a day off when you need to. Now, those are the simple things, but the fact that you're self-employed, the fact that you know how to strategize and look at it this way, I was not able to make more money when I strategized it this way, and when I turn this angle, I'm expecting more money. The fact that you cannot level your money, that this is what I'm getting every month. The fact that you can actually get more and more and more depending on how you strategize. It does not matter. You can do something small that can actually not interfere with your day-to-day job. Let's talk about the fact that what do you use your social media pages for? Did you know that you can use your social media pages to earn money? You can use Instagram to earn money. You can use Facebook to earn money. There's so many ways. There's so many young girls out there that have actually used Instagram as a place, as a marketing ground, as a marketing ground for other people to market their products, and they are getting money out of it. You don't have to just post pictures, beautiful pictures. Yeah, we enjoy looking at them, but how about you? How are you benefiting from them? A few days back, I took a ride with this young man, and I was asking him, so is this what you do daily? I was thinking about having a guy that I could call often when I need to give me a ride. And then he said, yes, for now, this is what I'm doing. And I'm like, okay, for now, do you have another plan? He's like, actually, I'm a teacher, but because things are not doing so great in the institutions, I've decided to alternatively do something else that can benefit my family, that can put food on the table for my family. And that is right there what I'm talking about. In this period, learn a skill. I had Latifah tell you last time, in this period, you do not have to just zero up on something. There are so many things that you can actually do that can benefit you financially. You can do web designing, you can do blogging, or you can take up an online class. All this will benefit you. That is what I wanted to tell you today. Before I run out of studios, let us take a look at the Forex rates today. The dollar is at 3,673 and selling at 3,683. The pound is at 4,845 and selling at 4,858. I'm looking at this pound one time, get to 5,000. And the euro is at 4,331 and selling at 4,343. The Kenyan shillings at 33 and still selling at 34. The Tanzanian shillings are at 1.58 and selling at 1.58. And lastly, the South African rand at 216 and still selling at 216. Like I said, we are expecting lots of more rains, and in this period, in a period with so many rains, the spread of the virus is more at it. So please don't forget to put on your masks. Don't forget to put on your gloves when you have to. Mind where you touch. Mind who you hug. You know, you can do all the other ways of greeting. You don't necessarily have to hug someone. Thank you so much. It is Genesis. Remember, I am here in studios with you, giving you business tips every Monday to Friday only on STV. And let me send you back to Latifah.
Well, thank you very much, Genesis. Namali, just like you said, there are rains coming. Now, aside from COVID-19 being an issue, diversify, get into farming. That's the best thing you can do right now in this situation that you're in, where you've been in lockdown in 5 months. Go into farming and make yourself some money. Let's go for a break, and we will be back with the sports with Prince Jiko.
Watching STV, select for fun.
Abalamuzi babagamba, if the incumbent president frustrates all democratic means to leave power, temusibayo muntu n'omukutwiza. This is why Besigye is released. Museveni ekibi kyalina talina mawulire. Nabandika n'ekitabo kyange, the role of which could have been a malicious society. Sapule njijjamu.
Noyingire sabo.
Katonda wa bujja. Nze Katonda w'obujja. Bw'oba olaga eri, sapule twegitwala. Omusajja omubbi bamujja ewuwe ewaka kabanga lyezi. Ne bamujja ewuwe ewaka yabadde mu ttooyi. Naye tebamukkiriza na tusanitize. Bamutadde butese mu piikaavu ba mu State House. Naye omukyayina bwe yawulidde nti ono bamukutte yeesize kiwi yayitiddeko yadduse ng'omuddugavu.
Bampita Dr. Franklin Mugisha wano ku STV. Biri kumachakera nange nga twogera ku nsonga ez'enjawulo. Engeri okwezimba mu ggwanga lyaffe, engeri okuzimba gye tubeera gye tuva. Waategedde obwavu lwa kibuluma. mikwano gy'abaavu ani otambula otya osula otya okusalawo okwo okw'obulamu kutandikira ku nfunayo emikwano gy'abagagga n'abaavu tusobola ogitegeera ku STV tugenda kwogera ku nsonga z'abaslay queen tutambula tutya kukyusa omulembe gw'abawala baffe kubanga bafuuka bavunaanyizibwa era nga bakozi nga banoonyi ba kikumi tugenda kwogera ku bakanyama bazimba batya emibiri ye omubiri bwe gulimu ssente oba bwe bulamu bwe twetaaga omukazi tasobola kuleka musajja w'emmotoka mukaaga mbwakute akwate 6 pack amufune mubatambule naye wano ku STV Big Network. See ya.
Hey guys, you're watching STV. Select for fun.
nga okyekuumidde ku STV era nga neeyongera okwaniriza abo abakatwegattako okuva ku mukutu gwa Facebook n'abo abakatwegattako maybe ng'okyali waka n'abo abali ku ofiisi zammwe. Eno ye first show era nga tukuwa Kasavu Kanyama, tukuwako mu current affairs, ne tukuwa mu business angle, ne tukuwa naddala mu abasuubuzi weetaaga okumanya rates za dollar oba other currencies bwe zimidde nga tonnaba kufuluma ggwanga wamu n'abo abaagala ebyemizannyo. We always have you covered with margarine. For now, tuyina margarine ku set. Margarine wasuze otya nnyabo?
Chris Makanga nasuze bulungi n'abalabi ba STV mbabuuzaako nti mwasuze mutya nno basebo ne banyabo.
Ebyemizannyo tebibadde nnyo active, nsuubira bye bimu bibadde biri affected ne COVID-19 naye ate amawulire mukyagatuwa gavaawa?
Amawulire weegali, ebyemizannyo omanyi bye bintu ebigatta buli omu, bigatta bannabyabufuzi ne bigatta abasuubuzi ne bigatta ssente, so kye kintu ky'onyumirwa ate nga bw'oyiga oba oliawo.
Weewaawo gatuwe.
Naye nga bingi nnyo ebigenda maaso mu ggwanga njagala kwaniriza, nja kusookera ddala wano mu ggwanga lyaffe Uganda, oba oliawo tunaaba tufunye akaseera ne bwe lw'eggwanga nja kuyitizaayo Kasavu Kanyama otegeere ensinga bw'etambula. Omukyala gulaba ku STV yo, nze Margarine Nabulime. Waneeno mu ggwanga njagala tutandikire ku club ya KCCA. Olunaku olw'eggulo baavuddeyo ne banjula omuvubuka omuto myaka 18 bamuyita Dominic Ayera. Omuvubuka ono muyizi asomera ku Masaka Secondary School. Kitegeeza bamujje mu akademi yaabwe gwolaba ku STV yo. Omuvubuka oyo yavudde mu akademi ya KCCA, bamuwadde endagaano ya myaka 2. Kitegeeza agenda kuba asoma ate nga n'omupiira waagukwasanyiganira ddala. Chris Makanga n'abatulaba kitegeeza ki nti talent osobola okuba ng'ogiryako, osobola okuba ng'oginyumirwa ate ng'ogiganyulwamu. Omuvubuka ono agenda kuba aweererwa club ye ya KCCA. Kitegeeza abazadde akasimbiko bagenda kuba mu mbeera eyo bakasazeeko abe nga afunamu mu kusoma ate nga n'ekitone kye kyeyongera okuba nga kikula. Tulina okitegeera nti omusomesa wa KCCA Michael Mutebi y'omu ku basajja oba ku basomesa abavumbula ennyo ebitone by'abaana abato wano mu ggwanga Uganda. Bw'oba weetegereza yavumbula omuvubuka Alan Okero, Julius Poloto n'abalala bangi nnyo. Tubalabye nga bagezaako okuba nga ekintu kino bakitwalira ddala ku level eya waggulu. Mpozi n'okuyisizaako bannayuganda ebweru w'eggwanga engeri gye basobodde okuba nga baperforminga oba engeri gye basobola okuba nga bali ku clubs zaabwe. Jjukira mu mawanga agamu clubs zikyagendera ddala maaso okuba nga basambira ddala emipiira. Ekiro ekikeseza olwaleero nja kusookera ddala ku Bevis Mugabi, onono azanyira mu ggwanga erya Scotland mu club ye eya Motherwell, naye wabula obukeredde ekubiddwa bannaffe aba Celtic. Okuyisizaamu Fahad Bayo olunaku olwaleero, naye ekiro ekikeseza olwaleero asobodde okuba nga azanya omupiira gwe ogusoose mu club eno empya mwe bali ne Munnayuganda Timothy Awanye, naye nga tebitambudde bulungi, baluzinze. Oyinza okugamba kuvudde match ye 1 tasobodde kuba nga akola bulungi. I think ye ng'omuntu oyinza obutakimubalira kuba ayingidde mu dakiika ebadde ya 82 bwe tutyo bwe basobodde okuba nga batambula. Ate n'omuvubuka Michael Azira essaawa yonna agenda kuba nga yegatta ku club ye wali mu ggwanga erya America eya Chicago Fire. okuleka amawulire agatambula ennyo Chris Makanga kyenjagala mutegere nti tebitambula bulungi nnyo ku kapteni waffe Dennis Masinde Onyango. Olunaku olwaleero tumulabye nga amisinze egeemu ey'okusatu babadde nga Mamelodi Sundown ezannya ne bannaffe aba Baroka FC wali mu liigi eya South Africa. Kitegeeza ki eri eggwanga, kitegeeza ki eri omukwasi wa gono? Jjukira nti emipiira esatu egisembeyo omwali ogwa Golden Arrows, omwali omupiira ogwa Kaizer Chiefs tasobodde kubanga agisamba. Twakumumulaba Mamelodi Sundown we yali esamba ne Malmesburg baluzinga 3-2. So simanyi kiri awo naye nga tube bagumu, naye nga amawulire si gasanyu nnyo. Captain wa mukubanga amisinga emipiira esatu kiba China communication de kibawa either tali mu shape nungi nnyo oba nga mistakes ze yakola ku mpira gwa Malmesburg zisobodde okubanga zimwamu ka setback, naye tusuubira oba tumusabire abenga akomawo. Of course wali eri mu ggwanga erya Tanzania joyinza okuyita community shield yaabwe bannaffe aba Simba FC basobodde okubanga bagitwala. Jjukira mu mulimu Munnayuganda Nicholas Wadada era avuddeyo n'asanyukira abawagizi abasobodde okubanga babateekamu amaanyi wabo tebabaddemu mu kisaawe nga batwala ekikopo kino. Of course katono nnyo tuyiteko wali ebweru w'eggwanga jagala okutegeeza nti of course ekyayogerwako ndowooza ye transfer ya Messi efuuse namulanda kyoyinza ogamba nti buli wamu kyekyogerwako. Messi olunaku olw'eggulo bannaffe aba Barcelona basobodde okubanga batendekebwa ddetu naye Messi teyasobodde kubanga mwali n'omuvubuka oyo mu Brazil Philip Coutinho bonna tebasobodde kubanga babaawo. Kitegeeza oba kyongera okuwa highlight nti omuvubuka ono essaawa yonna tuyinza omulaba nga alikulira club eno ey'abannaffe aba Barcelona. Of course transfers nyingi zikyagenda maaso mu aba Chelsea. Kai Havertz essaawa yonna mugenda kuba mumufuna olw'ensonga wali mu club mwabadde eya Bayern bamalaze nti takyagenda kuddamu kutendeka nabo, agenda kubanga obaoliawo yegatta. Of course Mesut Ozil naye tebitambula bulungi wali mu club ye ya Arsenal. Oyinza okugamba omusomesa Mikel Arteta amukoze amubodde kuba takya traininga na tiimu. Jjukira omuvubuka ono yasinga okubanga asasulwa ssente empitirivu mu club eno ya Arsenal $35,000. Mu club ya Arsenal manya abagizi ba Arsenal mwagala nnyo okumanya ebikwata ku club yammwe. Njagala obategeeza nti kapteni wammwe Pierre Aubameyang tanaba kubanga ateeka omukono ku ndagaano ye ne club ya Arsenal. Wakyaliwo omubulubulu omuvubuka ono ayagala emyaka 3, club yagalamu wa myaka 2. So ekyo tujja kuba nakyo twongera okubanga tukibategeereza ddala gye bujjako maasawo katono. Ndowooza bye bisobola okugamba ebiri oba ebitambula mu nsiike eno ey'ebyemizannyo. Chris Makanga okuleka ng'olina ky'obuuza naye nze ndabika mbatadde.
Weewaawo tweyanziza nnyo Margarine for that beautiful report era nga omulabi wa omwagazi wa sports omuntu agezaako okugoberera ebyemizannyo kati omanye olunaku we luyimiridde ne mu kusaawa 5 saawa 6
tujja kuba tukuwa ekintabuli ky'ebyemizannyo.
Weewaawo ku saawa 5 mpaka saawa 6 ajja kuba akomawo abawe in depth ku bino by'abasunidde kabasuuniddeko katono nnyo naye nga nsubira ka information kakumala okubanga otandika olunaku. For now the first show takes another break and I will return with Latifah Hamid.
abalamuzi babagamba nti if the incumbent president frustrates all democratic means to leave power temusibayo muntu n'omu ku twiza. This is why Besigye is released. Museveni ekibi kyalina talina mawulire. Nawandika n'ekitabo kyange the role of which could have been a malicious society sapule njijjamu
noyingire sabo
katonda wa bujja nze katonda w'obujja bw'oba olaga eri sapule twekitwala omusajja omubbi bamujja ewuwe ewaka kabanga lyezi ne bamujja ewuwe ewaka yabadde mu ttooyi naye tebamukiriza na tusanatayizi bamutadde butese mu piikaavu ba mu state house naye omukyayina bwe yawulidde nti ono bamukutte yeesize kiwi yayitiddeko yadduse ng'omuddugavu.
Good morning once again, and thank you so much for joining us. For those of you that have just joined us, we are saying sorry because you've come at the time when we are going to be saying bye-bye to you. Meanwhile, for those of you that have hosted us from 6:30 up to now, you are the best audience we have ever had. And nababadde batwegattideko kuva mu office yamwe ku Facebook. Thank you so very much for that audience, and thank you so much for always believing in us. My name is Simon Chris Makanga, and may the good Lord of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob be with you, not until we meet once again tomorrow. But we have worked with an amazing team. We had Don the Drone and Mansoul on camera. We had Husna Afit and Adams Mayambala as our senior producers, and Jeff and Roberts in the control room. For now, myself, I am not around.
Na nyinyi ambayo mlikuwa na sisi, nitaka kuwashukuru kwa Kiswahili. Tumevuga gari mpaka tumefika hapo, tumemaliza program, na tunawashukuru sana kukuwa na sisi kwenye basi na kutuamini kuwaleta mpaka hapa bila ya kuwagongesha. Nitaka kuwashukuru. Nitaka kushukuru Prince Kigele and Bridget Vartan, Opio Calvan, na Kato Hassan for being part of the discussions on our social media platforms. See you tomorrow, and take care of yourselves.
Hey guys, you're watching STV. Select for fun.